Ever since I started making my own hot sauces, I never went back to buy a hot sauce ever again. Because the one I'm going to show you how to make today with the techniques I'm going to show you will make just a delicious hot sauce that's better than any grocery store hot sauce you can buy. And not only that, there's thousands of possibilities, maybe millions of flavor combinations that you can create by just substituting a few little things. So today I'm going to show you two guideline recipes on how to make a red orangey one and a green yellowy one. And not only that, you can always substitute out a lot of the ingredients to put different fruit, different vegetables, spices. You can add herbs, you can add different oils, you can add different vinegars, you can add whiskey, you can add different peppers, you can age it for longer time frames. The opportunities and the possibilities are limitless to create delicious stuff. And every time I've ever done a hot sauce with this, I've never had something that was disgusting. It's always been delicious, even though sometimes it does smell pungent when you're fermenting it. But yeah, let's get straight into this. Let's do this. Let's cook. Okay, let's start by prepping our habaneros. You take the top off, slice it in half, and then slice it into quarters. And that's it. You're going to have to just prepare a couple habaneros like this. Now, if you want a milder hot sauce, you can substitute the habaneros for milder pepper. Okay, once you've done the habaneros, you can move on to the garlics. I've got 3-4 garlic cloves here, and I like to cut them in half, and then just give them a light crush with a knife, like this. Now take a quarter of a red onion and just slice it into 3 chunks. And we're going to take a little piece of ginger that I peeled and just slice it into little rectangles like this. Now this is an Italian pepper. I like to use this to soften the heat from the habaneros a little bit. And now I'm just going to put all my ingredients into a jar. Now I zeroed out the jar on the weighing scale so that we could weigh the contents of the jar. And we're just popping it in over each other and just fill it up. Lots of habaneros, keep them coming. And then we're going to add some hot water until it's fully covering the ingredients. And we make sure to weigh it. So right here it's saying 645 grams. Let's take it to 650 grams. And then we're going to do some maths for how much salt we're going to add to this. So 650 grams times 0.025, which will be 2.5% salt, gives us 16.25 grams. Let's just call it 16 grams of salt. Measure that out. And then we're going to place that into our jar. And now you're going to want to take your glass fermenting slug and place it on there. It keeps all the ingredients below the waterline so they don't rot. And here's a little breathing nipple that will let the carbon dioxide out and keep the flies out also. Then seal that and always remember to label your ferments, so date and what inside, on a little piece of masking tape. Okay, for the second jar, let me show you a different way to measure it out. What you want to do is first measure the weight of the jar and write that down. And then here I'm putting green and yellow habaneros in and scooping some mango in. And then I'm going to follow that with a little bit of onion, some garlic, and then a little bit of pineapple, a couple chunks in there, and some more green and yellow habaneros. Now what you're going to want to do is take a muddler and push it down to compress it and keep adding some more stuff. But because what happens is when you ferment it, it really compresses it and it becomes much smaller. So you're better off if you do that. Then again, add the hot water. And then you just write down the second weight. And then we're going to remove the first weight from it, which is the jar, and then we'll know what the contents are of the jar. And that is 563 grams. So we're going to multiply that by 0.025 again to get 2.5% salt, which is 14 grams of salt. Just going to measure that out, put that on the top here, give it a little mix, and then we're going to take our glass fermenting slug again, place it on top so it holds all the products underneath the waterline, and just put a little breathing nipple on there and seal it up. And this is the first one after about 2 months. I left it to go for 2 months. Usually you can do it for about 2 weeks, but I wanted the garlic to mellow out, and these are some of my hot sauce experiments as they're going. Once you feel that your hot sauce is fermented and ready, you take it out and sieve it and keep the contents, and do not throw away the brine. You're going to need that in a second. Place the contents into the blender and then add a little bit of the brine liquid and some vinegar to taste. Now what the vinegar does is it stops the fermentation, so it kills off a lot of the bacteria and stops fermenting, sort of freezes the action of the hot sauce fermentation. Now at this point you can add a little bit of oil as it's blending in. Now you can always substitute the vinegar for some whiskey. It would have the same action, it would kill the bacteria and would add a different kind of flavor. And different alcohols could do that too, or different vinegars. Once you're done blending it and hot sauces to taste, like you don't need any more vinegar or any more brine, then just pour them into your sauce dispensers, just like this. And don't forget to put a little label on so you know what's inside the little delicious jar. Now, let's do the green jalapeno with mango and pineapple one. This one's been also fermenting for 2 months. I left them to ferment for 2 months because the garlic was a bit intense, so I wanted to mellow it out. Here I've just added again brine and vinegar, and I'm just going to blend it, and I'm going to stream in some oil. You don't have to add oil, you can just have some without oil. I've done that before, and you can add different oils like hazelnut or sesame seed oil for different flavors. There's so many combinations to make amazing hot sauces, and this one ended up being pretty good. I really like this one with the mango, pineapple, and green jalapenos. Habaneros. It was fantastic. There you go, delicious hot sauces. Alright, so now you have all the tools to make your own magical hot sauces at home. I urge you to go out there, try different combinations, do different things, and just create your own delicious hot sauce that you own. Now, regarding the time of fermentation, 2 weeks is usually what it takes to ferment peppers. Obviously, the longer you leave it, the more developed the flavors become. And you can leave it for a very long time. I've done 8-10 months was the maximum I ever did. And I was really upset when that sauce finished because I knew it was another 10 months before I could taste that sauce again. So that was very upsetting. But it was fantastic. And I've heard of people that have gone 1-2 years fermenting their own hot sauces. Another thing is with garlic, because it's so pungent when you're fermenting it, you might want to wait a bit longer than 2 weeks, let's say 1.5, 2 months, because it mellows down at that point, and then your hot sauce won't have that pungent smell, which might be a bit off-putting. But it is delicious. As soon as that mellows down, it's fantastic. So definitely worth giving it a try. Now, another thing, since we are talking about fermentation and fermenting things, I don't want you to freak out when something happens that you're not expecting. So this here is a layer of Cam's yeast. It's not mold, it's something else. You should look it up on Google if you don't know. Just type Cam's yeast images and mold images. They look very different. It's a thin white filament that happens above the waterline. And if that happens, just scoop it out and move on. But if it looks like a bad mold, if it's colorful or really fluffy, then you might have to restart. Also, I did notice it happened a lot more on the sweeter things. Like, for example, the mango pineapple one I showed today, that had a lot more Cam's yeast on it than other things that I've lacto-fermented before. But it was fantastic once that was removed and made into a sauce. Okay, so I hope you learned something here today. Subscribe, like this. See you in the next one. Goodbye.